What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Goal Getter podcast. I'm Jordan. I'm joined today by my lovely wife, Lindsay.
Lindsay.
That's tough to say. Lovely wife, Lindsay.
Yeah, that is kind of
You might have to be something else other than lovely.
Oh, but I can still be Lindsay though, right?
Yes, you can still be Lindsay.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah, so we're jumping in today and talking about a topic that if you're a service provider, you have probably already handled this in some way or another, or you've already had to deal with this in a certain way because you're in the service industry, you're dealing with people on a regular basis. People are constantly coming in, coming out. And more than likely, even if you're an excellent service provider, you're probably going to run into somebody who just is not happy with their service at some point or another. It's going to happen. We always say it's a matter of when, not if. So more than likely, you're always going to deal with somebody who's maybe a little bit difficult. And then we're basically going to cover in this podcast, essentially, like, how do you deal with that person? Like, what are some things you can do? What are some things you can say, and how you can set yourself up for success in handling those difficult people?
Yeah, and I think it's something that is like the one thing that is really difficult in our industry. And like Jordan said, the service industry in general. So whether you're a waitress or a waiter, you're cleaning teeth. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're still dealing with people who have emotions. And, you know, it's like, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but a lot of times we find that it doesn't even have to do with us. It just has to do with the person just being upset in general with their own daily lives. So we try really hard not to take it personally, but unfortunately, it does hit you personally. When you're a business owner, and especially with permanent makeup, you want to make people happy and you want to do a really good job for them. And so when they are unhappy, you want to fix it. But we're going to talk about this today because sometimes you just can't fix it. It's not you, it's them.
So with that, let's cue it up and let's go.
Hi there. Welcome to the Goal Getter podcast. We are so glad that you are here. I'm Lindsay, the dreamer and visionary of the business.
And I'm Jordan, the brains of the business, meaning I do all the back end stuff or anything that Lindsay doesn't like doing.
We're a husband and wife duo who took a leap of faith several years ago to embark on this permanent makeup business journey together.
We both worked unsuccessful and unfulfilling jobs before, and now we've turned our business into a thriving six-figure business.
They say you're meant to lead those who were once in your shoes, so that's what we're doing, navigating kids, homeschooling, business, and life together.
But this podcast is about more than just business and permanent makeup. It's about personal growth. We're here to help you conquer your goals, both in your business and in life.
And remember, growth begins when you get outside of your comfort zone.
Does all that sound good? Awesome. Let's dive on in.
Okay, guys, let's dive into this topic. This is such a hard topic. We've been in the permanent makeup industry for almost 8 years now. And thankfully, with being in the industry for so long, we don't really have these difficult clients come around too much. However, when they do, they seem to be really bad.
Yeah.
Like, they're just really difficult. And so we're going to talk literally step by step on how we've handled people. We'll even tell you some crazy stories, but then also just kind of just showing you guys like, hey, this is what we try to do in order to avoid having a difficult client, because there are things that you can do to prepare ahead of time so that you don't deal with someone that's hard.
And by no means are we saying like we have this nailed and we're like, oh yeah, hey, like this is what you do every time. I think every case is going to be totally different than the last one. And depending on all the variables that go into it, you may handle it a little bit differently than us. There's not to say there's one right way and one wrong way.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you handle it. And you just can hear from us and some tips and some mistakes maybe that we've made along the way as well.
Yeah, and I think it just is a very case-by-case situation, because sometimes you'll have someone who just, you know, says that they're upset with their permanent makeup, and then you can just say, hey, no problem. Like, and then you tell them the steps, we'll adjust it at your touch-up, no big deal. And then you have clients who are complete, like, the other end of the spectrum, like off the wall, like they're super duper upset, like they're emailing you and, you know, emailing you words that has terms like litigation and things like that. And so we're going to talk about that all later today. But the number one thing, and if you are podcast listeners, of ours, you'll hear us talk about client expectations and managing client expectations all the time. One thing that we really do well, in my opinion, as best we can at least, is really managing client expectations. So I actually don't allow the word perfect in my room. If someone says perfect, I don't tell them they can't say that, obviously, but I kind of gently correct them like, hey, so we don't promise perfection. However, we will enhance your eyebrows. We will enhance your look. We will enhance your, you not wanting to age and wanting to look younger and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't allow the word perfect or perfection because there was only one perfect person that walked this earth, and it was Jesus, and it's certainly not me. So I do tell people up front that that's just it's not possible to get perfect eyebrows or perfectly symmetrical eyebrows. So all that to say, like, if you have a client who has previous work done and they're coming in and they're saying, I want my eyebrows to look like this, and they're showing you all these crazy pictures that are way different than what their eyebrows currently are or what they've had previously done from another artist.
Yeah.
And so right then and there is your opportunity to say, hey, you don't have a clean slate. You don't have a blank palette for me to work on. We are working over previous color. We are working over someone else's artistry, over someone else's work. I can't really make too many adjustments or tweak them too much. I can only do X, Y, and Z. Those are the three things that I can do. I can adjust the shape just a little bit. I can maybe adjust your symmetry a little bit, and I can adjust your color. That is about all I can do because you already have previous work. And I always tell my clients who have previous work, or if they have a difficult situation just in general, I just tell them, hey, you might need an extra session. Hopefully not. However, you have previous work done. And so I have to be really careful and very cautious when I'm going into the skin the first session to make sure that I am not oversaturating the skin and things like that. So I'm letting them know in their first session, you might need 2 more sessions in order for your permanent makeup to be where you want it to be. And I'm also telling them that does cost you. Every session that you need done will cost you. And we've learned really early on, haven't we, about putting it in our consent forms because clients unfortunately just don't read consent forms.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't. However, we can then go say, hey, you put this in your consent form and you signed off on it, you dated it, like you agreed to our policies, you agreed to these terms. We don't like to catch people off guard. I always tell our clients that, hey, when I go to a restaurant and there's an extra number on my tab that I didn't know was going to be there, I don't love that. And so because I don't like to have surprises, we don't like to do that to our clients either. So it's on our website, it's in our consent forms, it's in our policies. Like, we don't love that. Therefore, we don't do that to our clients too. So manage your clients' expectations. If you are getting a gut feeling because they are being too difficult in the consultation process, or even difficult to book their appointment to get them in the studio for a consultation, turn them away. It's not even worth it. Turn them away. With managing client expectations, this is across the board. So with Jordan and I, obviously being a husband and wife duo, we work in the same studio, we work in rooms next to each other. If you have any other artists on staff or any other people on staff, even if you have a spa that has nothing to do with permanent makeup, your services from front to back, all of them, whether they're permanent makeup or not, you guys all need to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to educating your clients and setting client expectations. For instance, if you have a client that comes in and she's like, I want a volume lash set, but her eyelashes are like this big, super tiny. You can't put a set of volume eyelashes on her because she doesn't have a natural lash that's long enough to help the weight that is getting ready to be put on her lashes with a volume set. So again, managing client expectations. You can't have that because of X, Y, and Z, and explaining very thoroughly why they can't have that.
Yeah. So a lot of times setting up what Lindsay's talking about, setting up that foundation of what the client is expecting versus what you can give, a lot of times will totally disrupt or get rid of any bad reviews or any upset clients that you'd have, because what you can deliver and their expectation are on the same page then from that point going forward. So that's perfect to set those expectations up ahead of time before they come in, so that way they know. But in the case that you do have an upset client and you actually say, you did your service they come back and they're like, hey, this isn't exactly what I was expecting, or this isn't lining up with what I had in my mind, or, maybe the communication wasn't great, or whatever the case may be. I think from a business owner, we take a lot of pride in our business, and we put a lot of effort and a lot of time into our business, sometimes at the sacrifice of family or sacrificing friends or different things. So with that, a lot of times our first reaction sometimes when somebody is unhappy is to say, well, it's not my fault. Like, you must have misunderstood, or you, and it's the first response is essentially to just like jump on it and get that it's their fault and not necessarily yours. So I would challenge, like, I know as a guy, I tend to want to fix things immediately rather than just like actually listen. So I think for me, the first thing and the most challenging thing sometimes is to literally, as soon as that client reaches out and they're upset or unhappy with the results of their service, maybe it's in the moment, maybe it's a week or 2 weeks down the road, whatever the case may be. I think the first thing is to just listen to what they're saying. Try super hard not to take it personally. They're just essentially talking business and saying why their expectation was not met. And sometimes I would say use your gut instinct and also realize, okay, is this person essentially telling me something in a like a constructive criticism manner where it's like, hey, this is going to be beneficial for me? Or are they just venting to like just be upset, and you can tell like they kind of just want their money back kind of thing. And you rendered a good service, but they're just wanting to maybe take advantage of the policy or different things like that to get their money back, maybe because it was too expensive or something like that.
Yeah. And there's two types of clients, right? Like you kind of just said that, like there's two types of clients that complain. There's clients who have very valid points, okay? Like one of their arches is higher than the other one, or they're missing some color along their lash line, or, they're missing a spot out of their lips or something like that. That's valid. Of course they can complain about that because they're missing color or something needs to be adjusted. However, that's why we have touch-ups. So that's valid. That's totally okay. However, it's clients who are like, this is not what I wanted at all. This one is way higher than the other one, but then you've taken it into a grid and you've like laid them out and you're like, no, actually your symmetry is just fine. Or, I wanted hair strokes and you told me I was getting hair strokes, but then you didn't give them hair strokes. Whatever the case may be, is it valid or is it ridiculous? If that makes sense. Yeah. Like for to be blunt, basically, if it's valid, fix it. If it's not valid, then you need to come to an agreement, come to a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of times just understanding from that side, because I know I've had a number of clients that, complain's not the right word, but they give good feedback in a way that it makes me a better artist. Whereas if they didn't give that feedback, or they didn't critique me in such a loving way, I wouldn't be a better artist, or I wouldn't be the artist that I am today. Yeah. So a lot of times there's some clients that literally can maybe give you constructive criticism, and you just have to like take that to heart and just understand where they're coming from, and understand that like at the end of the day, by you taking that and actually hearing and listening what they're saying, and then able to like bridge that gap again between their expectation and what you can deliver, by closing that gap and making it closer, you're going to be a better artist, or you're going to be a better service provider at the end of the day, and be able to service more clients in a higher volume at a higher quality level than you have before. And being able to internalize that and be able to take that is I think it's a skill set, really, to be able to set aside, hey, my personal feelings feel this way, but like I know this person is just trying to help me, or just trying to help me become better.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do, like really, really hard to do when someone is complaining about something. And complaining would be the right word if someone's upset. If they're complaining about your service that you rendered, we always take it personally, especially as a female. And so, like Jordan said, try to not take it to heart. Try to listen to what they're saying. And 9 times out of 10, it will always make you a better artist. Okay, so the next thing. So we've set client expectations. We have listened to our clients to see what they want, to see how we can fix it or come to a resolution. Now, the next thing would be to set boundaries, okay? Because again, sometimes you will have clients that just say, I just want this adjusted, or I just need this fixed. I'm not super happy about it. And you're like, okay, I can adjust that. I can fix that. No big deal. But then there's the whole other type of next level client who is like, I'm really unhappy. This is not what I paid for. I paid a ton of money for this. This is not what I wanted. The pigment didn't stay, blah, blah, blah. Okay. There's a lot of different things that they could say. But you have to set boundaries. Okay. I will say this very carefully, and I will also explain what I'm getting ready to say. I am not in the school of thought that the customer is always right. Okay. Now, if you're a customer and you're hearing this, you're a client of ours and you're hearing this, let me explain. Okay. Now, there is kind ways and there are constructive ways to tell someone that you were unhappy about something. Okay. And we are all for that. I am all for the client that's like, I need a little bit more here. I need a little bit more here. Bring it in just a little bit and go a little darker here. Done. Like, that's super easy for me to do. They're very clear with me. I know exactly what they want. I love that. Even though they're picky, I love picky clients because they make me a better artist. Okay. So the clients that I do not believe are always right are the clients that are swearing at me, are demeaning me, are being negative towards me, or won't even let me talk. Okay?
Yeah. Or I would even throw in there some of the ones that don't even want to give you a chance to like make it right.
Yeah,
They're
or
just
fix
like,
it.
hey, just give me a refund. Like I'm going somewhere else. Like I'm done kind of thing.
Yeah. So I do not agree with those clients. Okay. If I've rendered the service, you're unhappy, give me a reason to, or help me, let me help. What is this? Help me help you.
Yeah.
And let me try to fix it for you. Now, there are some clients, again, who are very unhappy and just want their money back, and they won't even come in for the touch up. If that happens, let the client go because they have not completed the process. Okay. So they can't be even in the slightest bit upset about it because they have not completed the service. Okay. So we've had this happen on a couple of different occasions. And you guys can go read our bad Google reviews. Okay. People don't finish the process. They cannot be upset that they didn't get the results that they wanted because the services were not fully rendered. Okay. So if you have someone that doesn't want to come back for the touch up, then kindly let them go and tell them that you will not be able to further service them as a client. Okay. Put a pop-up note on their file and never let them come back. They are not being reasonable. They are not letting you help them. And there's nothing that you can do about that. Those type of clients, you have to learn to let them go, take the bad review, and then you're in a win-win situation if you ask me. Okay. Yes, it sucks to get bad Google reviews. However, let's say you brought them in for a touch-up. Okay. They're very unhappy with their first session. They come in for a touch-up. You're stressed out for the 4 weeks before that appointment, not looking forward to that appointment coming up with them. You're stressed out. It's like you wait your entire day for that client to come in, and then, it's just a stressful situation. You don't need that. You don't want that. It's not helpful for anybody. It's not great for your other clients as well because they're feeding off of that. And so that's a lose-lose, okay? But then when they write you a bad review, you get to then say, hey, you know what? We did everything in our power to get you back into the studio to make these adjustments that you were asking for us to do. However, you neglected to come back in. You would not come back in no matter what we offered you. You decided that you were not going to fully complete this process. So unfortunately, the way that you reacted to us, the way that you talked to us, the way you spoke to us, the way you handled us, we will no longer allow you to come back to our studio because you will not abide by our policies. So you're in the win there because when other clients are reading this bad review, they're going to see, oh, this wasn't the artist's fault. This was the client's fault. The client didn't want to come back and finish the service. So yes, it's a sticky and stinky situation on both sides, but then at least you're in the driver's seat. Whereas if you let them come back for a touch-up, they're still unhappy afterwards. Then they get to go to your Google review page and said, I got 2 services done with this person. I'm very unhappy. Save your money. Go somewhere else. Well, then you have to reply to that and try to make it look like you're in the driver's seat, even though you're not anymore. So there have been plenty of clients that I have turned away after their first session for just being, what's the word? Not reasonable. Like you cannot reason with certain difficult types of clients.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say on there as well, like as Lindsay said, like we've had, I can think of a few students and I can think of a few clients that have come in and they've said, actually, like, I saw your bad reviews or I read your bad Google reviews and I actually still chose to come to you because I saw how you handled it or I saw how you interacted with the upset client. And I was actually very impressed with your response. And you could clearly see they're like, hey, like that person clearly like wasn't being reasonable in it. And that's why I still chose to come to you. So it's cool too that you can sometimes take the negative situations that happen and still turn them into a positive for your business.
Yeah. We just had a client come in last week who we were talking, she's a business owner too, so she gets it. She actually deals with people as well in the service industry. And, she was like, I said, she owns a coffee shop in the area. And I said, how can people even be mad about a cup of coffee? She's like, oh, you'd be surprised, And I'm like, it's just so sad that sometimes people just don't give people the benefit of the doubt, or they're at least kind. Hey, this cup of coffee is not what I thought it was, or the flavor's not what it was. Do you mind remaking it for me? Instead of going and writing a Google review about a $5 cup of coffee. It's the same thing with permanent makeup too. It's like, hey, let's work together to get this figured out. But what she had said was, I said, oh yeah, we have bad Google reviews, unfortunately as well. And she goes, oh, I read them all. She's like, I can sniff out someone who's just trying to get their money back, or, a comment or a review that's not reasonable or isn't valid type of deal. And so a lot of clients can kind of sniff those things out. So I would definitely say, if you have bad Google reviews or you're getting them, don't be stressed out about them. Just make sure that you are trying to position yourself in such a way that is going to make it look like you are in control, so that you're not getting walked all over by the client, because I will not allow people to walk all over me. It's just not something that I can do. It's not in my nature. And so I am like, going on to the next point. It's about being authoritative and being confident in your answers. And I think because I know what I'm doing, as an artist, you have to put yourself in the driver's seat. Hey, you're upset about this. This is why. But this is what's going to happen. This is the process. This is the healing process. This is the steps that we have to take in order for you to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. So with that, then the next thing I think, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, is just having policies, having those policies in place to hopefully stop some of that upset client. So you can look at them, like you had said earlier, look at them and say, hey, like, you signed off on this. You agreed to, maybe having a third session, or you agreed that, your lashes may fall off after a week and a half, or whatever the scenario may be, having those policies in place. And I think as a business owner, it's something that is always going to be changing. It's always going to be growing. I know since Lindsay started almost 8 years ago now, her policies back then looked totally different than what they look like now, because you deal with real life, and then you deal with, unfortunately, people who are like, they read the policies front to back and they're like, oh, it doesn't say anything about this. Like, I can mention that. And so you almost kind of, based on situations that you've had and different things and how you've been maybe burned by clients in the past or things like that aren't being reasonable, and you've had to bend your policies more, or that, oh, hey, I should have had that in there, but I didn't have that in there. Where it happens maybe 2 or 3 times, you're like, oh man, I should add this rule to our policy. And we've had a number of times where it's like, hey, you just have to stay firm. So it kind of goes in conjunction with what Lindsay was saying, as far as like being confident. But one, also like knowing your policies. So like our policies, we've had a lot of people like say they're pretty intense, like, and they are. I don't want to say that they're not. But at the end of the day, we're also real people. So like, I'm not literally just like I don't have a heart. I'm literally going to stick to the policy regardless of whatever story you tell me or whatever you tell me. I'm gonna be genuine. I'm gonna be real. But also at the end of the day, we like to tell our clients too, like, we run a business, and like, this is how we feed our family. So some of those policies are in place to protect us and protect our income coming in. And some people don't like it. I can think of one review that we got. That literally this person didn't even book an appointment. We went back and forth in email a few times, and basically like there was just some weird situation happening where it was like it was like vacation, so like we weren't super fast in getting back to him. And then basically like we emailed back and forth. He saw the policies and was basically just like, yeah, like I don't want to book based on like the booking fee and yada, yada, yada. And we were like, okay, that's fine. Like, totally fine. We totally understand. Like, we were good with it. And then a few days later, we got a bad Google review, and we didn't even service them. So sometimes you get that. I think sometimes with policies, you will get people that just want to be upset, and at the end of the day, kind of force their way onto you to say, hey, you should run your business this way, or like, that's too strict, or this is, you're giving too much leeway here, those different things. And at the end of the day, it's your business. So you can run your business however you want to run your business. And people, that's the beauty of America, is like that you can run your business how you want to run your business. And people really, for the most part, can't do anything about it. Now, they may leave bad reviews. They may not, you may not have clients coming in all the time, or they may not be happy. But at the end of the day, like, it's your business, it's your baby. You can do what you want to do with it. And you can essentially enforce those policies however you want to enforce them.
Yeah. And like Jordan said, people will try to take advantage of policies, unfortunately. So that's why we've had to tweak ours so many times, to the point where I don't know that anybody has even been able to, knock on wood, the last 3 years probably been able to try to bend our policies at all. And so people will try to take advantage. So that's why you have to be confident. You have to be authoritative and kind. Okay. So like there's a difference between being a jerk and being authoritative and acting like what you say goes, and there's, it's your way or the highway. That's totally different than what I'm saying. Being authoritative is confidently speaking in what you know, and in your education and your knowledge, and also in your policies, but also being very kind and sweet about it. You're not being a butthole about it. You're being nice. You are not trying to tell the client to screw off. Like, that's not the goal here. The goal is to have peace. The goal is to mend whatever is broken or whatever needs fixed. But you have to be authoritative, because when people smell weakness, because some clients just do, when clients smell your weakness, that's when the crazy clients, if I can say crazy clients, will take advantage of you and take you for all you're worth. And so you do have to be confident in what you know. Now, going into talking about expectations, hearing clients out, being prepared, being authoritative, be confident, having boundaries, having policies. Okay. Like I just said, stay calm, stay professional, maintain your composure, no matter if someone is yelling or screaming at you. Okay. Regardless of the client's behavior, maintain your composure. Okay. Now, again, there's a difference between someone who is cussing at you and screaming at you in front of your entire studio or in front of other clients. That would be a totally different story than someone who's just talking to you that's really upset. Okay. So maintain your composure, listen to them, hear them out, figure out what they want, what they need, and then figure out a solution after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we were talking maybe at one of the conferences or something. It was almost like if you haven't had, upset clients, like you haven't been servicing enough people yet to have a difficult client or to have an upset client. So again, it just goes back to, it's going to be a matter of when, it's not going to be a matter of if. So preparing yourself now, if you're new in the game and you're just getting started out building your business, prepare yourself with these skills that you can learn to, like Lindsay's saying, be calm, but be confident, have policies in place, try to think through every scenario. And then I know for me, like sometimes it's just like kind of role playing in your mind. Like, okay, if, this client would say this about this, like this is how I'm going to respond and this is how I'm going to act. And then sometimes that conversation doesn't even end up coming forward. But at the same time, at least you're prepared and you're ready to give a response if it does come up, and you're not like totally caught off guard, things like that.
Yeah. And like I kind of said earlier, remember that most difficult clients aren't unhappy with you. They're a lot of times unhappy in life. Okay. So last thing that I want to mention, if you are a brand new artist in the industry, like Jordan said, we don't want to scare you. We don't want this to really discourage you from getting into the industry. Honestly, this happens super far and few between, like maybe one time a year for us, maybe not even that. Yeah. And so it doesn't happen often when your work is good and when you're doing a good job. So I don't want to scare you. We want to prepare you. I like that. We don't want to scare you. We want to prepare you. Okay. We should create a reel on that.
New t-shirt.
Yeah, we get a t-shirt. But there is one more thing I want to bring up, and it's litigation. Okay. We talked about that for a couple of seconds in the intro. However, we've had one client in the 8 years of doing this that we had to reach out to our lawyer and have our
lawyer card.
We had to play the lawyer card, unfortunately, that we could not work it out with them. They ended up sending us a 3-page Word document at the end of their day. And if I told you the story, you guys would flip. We should tell the story later on. But it was absolutely ridiculous. The person who got the service done absolutely loved their services. They got their eyebrows and lips done. They were so happy. They loved their services so much. However, there was a family member who was paying for her services to get them done. The person who was paying for her services hated them. She wanted her eyebrows way thicker and her lips way more bright. And the client was like, that is not what I want. Like, I want what you gave me. Like, this is perfect. So we unfortunately had to fire the client because of her family member. And it was a long story, but they sent us like a 3-page note that night and basically told us that we were treated them less than humans, that we were racist, and all sorts of insane
that never happened.
Like
happened. Nothing even
and like
close.
we went back and listened to all of the video footage on each of the rooms that they were in, and we were like, oh my gosh, we were so nice to them. We like bet policies for them. We let them come in the room while the service was getting done during the consultation. Like, we were nothing but straight up super nice from the moment they walked in to the moment they left. So it was just accusations that were completely false. And so we actually had our lawyer reach out to them and basically say, if you so much as write a Google review or say 3 words in public that are bad about Lindsay and Jordan, we will sue you for libel and slander. So
get yourself a good attorney.
Get yourself a good attorney who's
be a
complete
bulldog for
VA,
you.
yeah. And that's the only time we've had that happen. But what I want to say and what I was getting at was, when you have a client who mentions litigation or suing you, you are done speaking to them, like completely done speaking to them. Once they threaten to sue you or threaten litigation, you are done. You may not speak to them anymore. You need to screenshot that. You need to send it to your lawyer and then have your lawyer contact them. Block them. You are done speaking to them. Now, some artists will say, hey, I can no longer speak to you because you just threatened to sue me. So this is now being taken up into court. So if you would like to have your lawyer reach out to mine, here's my contact information. And so that kind of, depending on the person, freaks them out a little bit too. And they typically back off. Now, they might not. So you might have to think about that as well. However, you need to get a lawyer. If you are in this industry and you do not have a lawyer, just on speed dial that you can call, you need to. We've only had to call her one time, thankfully, in 8 years about a client. We typically are able to handle things and resolve things between clients. And if we can't resolve it, we end up getting a bad review. And I used to lose sleep over it, and now I'm just like, it is what it is. So.
Yeah, guys. Again, so we don't mean any of this to scare you. All of this sounds super intense and like crazy. And
this is a big topic, though.
It's very few and far between. But again, it's just because we want to prepare you. We want you to when that happens, you're like, hey, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know how I'm going to handle this situation. So thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yes, guys. Let us know if you have any questions.
This is the Goal Getter Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Michiana Microblading. And then you can also find our podcast on Spotify and Apple. So stay tuned. We'll see you again next week.